Hello and welcome to this eFTI platform webinar. This is first this kind of open webinar that we are running. We have had already several webinars inside our eFTI for X projects. My name is Lasse Nykänen from eFTI Expert Company, and I will be the moderator of this webinar today. And today we have interesting presentations. If you click for the next slide, Helena. We can first, I will give you a very short introduction, what is eFTI in general, how that works, what is in a nutshell eFTI. Then Marco Gorini from Magellan Circle will tell you more about the actual architecture, go deeper what the eFTI architecture means. And then we got presentation from online data from Nico Rodopoulos, and he will explain from the kind of eFTI platform developer point of view what that means. Then we have Osukan from Abona explaining you how Abona has integrated now the ICT systems and what that means in a eFTI world. And then we have a good presentation also coming from GPK Trusted Partner from Carl. And Carl will highlight these dangerous goods where they are very specialized in the EU level. And then last but not least, we have Barry from Bionera explaining you the interfaces and showing how economic operators and the private sector is integrating the ICT systems together. And finally, we have questions and answers. You can use always our chat and you can list your questions there if you have something. We try to pick all of those. If we don't have have time enough to go all of those today during the session, we will do some after work and then reply those in a wrap up or maybe some blog text after the webinar. Thank you. Let's go on the next page. So what is eFTI in a nutshell and where we are now with the regulation? First of all, eFTI is an enabler. It's not solving everything, for sure, we know all that, but it's good enabler what is now coming. And we have deadline, 9th of July 2027, all the competent authorities should be ready. And what eFTI is doing, it's kind of enabling now that we can use these digital solutions for competent how economic operators are reporting to competent authorities. There is some echo in the line. But yes, so eFTI is an enabler. And if you click, Helena, those, thanks. So eFTI is a new regulation which mandates our authorities to be ready to get all the information in digital form. So it's new regulation in that sense, but it's actually just digitalizing what we have now used in a paper formats. eFTI is a multimodal, so it covers road, rail, air, and also inland waterways. So it's for all transport modes. And that's why it's also very special and makes this harmonization for the data layer. And the biggest thing what eFTI does is now boosting the transition in this logistics industry so that we can move from paper to digital format and also from documents to data. Since eFTI is mostly built or is built on the data layer, it is using data to give the information for those who really need that and who have permits to get the access on that data. So it's that way also very secure way to exchange the data between economic operators and competent authorities. Next slide, Helena. And this is a direct citation from the regulation. So eFTI regulation is harmonizing the data layer, harmonizing the way how we are communicating between economic operators and competent authorities. eFTI regulation mandates member states, so authorities are now mandated by this regulation, and now it's voluntary still for economic operators. I say still because it has been discussed several times that maybe in the future it will be also then compulsory for economic operators. But now I want to highlight, now it's mandatory for member states. All member states needs to be ready by that deadline that you can see in that notification 9th of July. They should have their systems available and they should be able to get this kind of digital format when economic operators want to share the data for them. And Uh, FT, as I said, is built on the data. So we are moving away from the documents. Of course, in the documents that we have used, there is the same information available, but it might be the case that we have shared even more information for competent authorities that actually they have rights to see. Let's see, for example from CRM. There might be something that is actually not belonging on the police when they are making the stop on the road. But now with the FT, we are only showing that data that belongs for that competent authority. So we are actually giving less information maybe in the future. Next slide. And as I said, FT is a new regulation, but in that sense, it's not bringing anything new. Okay, sorry, yeah, there is some echo. FT is new regulation, but actually it's built on top of these existing regulations. So it's now just digitalizing the same information that we have already had in the on those existing regulations. And you can see this list of those 6 regulations that are listed there. So they are still like valid. They are giving the what needs to be there. FT is now digitalizing that. And like you can see in this illustration on the right top bottom corner, we have different kind of like transport documents, and FT is combining those in a data set, and now we are playing with that data set in the future. Next slide, please. And then we go a little bit deeper what FT is. So yes, FT is EU-wide, so all the EU member countries needs to be ready on that 9th of July, and all the EU member states needs to be able to get this information from economic operators in a digital format. FT architecture is built on these FT platforms, which is for the economic operator side. You will hear more about those later on. And then we have FT gates, which is kind of then the authority system. In this picture, that FT gate looks like a Mickey Mouse, and the reason for that is that actually those FT gates are connected. So FT gates build this network on EU-wide. FT platform can be connected on one FT gate, and then the EU-wide data exchange is happening via FT gates. And then FT gate is then connected to these competent authorities, which can be, for example, police, via this authority access point, so this AAP. And all the FT platforms, they need to be certified, and there is a way that you can be a FT platform or you can be a FT platform service provider. We will come also that later on again. But all of the FT platforms and also FT platform service providers, they need a certificate to be official FT platforms. And then they need to be connected on the FT gates. Next slide. And a lot of regulation and kind of like legislation work has been done already. You can see that the actual work came in force already 2020. I know that some work has been done even before that. A lot of work has been done even before that. But now we are coming kind of like a last mile of this regulation work also. So we can say that authority side is quite well covered already, and now we are focusing on this FT platform side and also the data layer. But this is kind of in a big picture how the regulation goes. So now the like full application is this 9th of July. And then there is also already discussion ongoing that the review of the legislation will come in 2029. So after a couple of years. Next slide. And yes, this is kind of summary where we are. So as I said, on the competent authority and authority side, the legislation is well available already. So member states, they are able to build their gates. They have already, several member states have started. We have also tested several of FT gates already. And also for economic operators, so the first implementing act is already also available. And for all of you who are interested what this FT means in a practice, if you go in the legislation side, Commission also published now this FT Wiki. It's under EU Commission like environment. everybody can get access there, but you just need to apply a user account for that. But everybody can get. And from there, you can see all the latest regulation and also these technical guidance documents. Technical guidance document 1 is more on the authority side, and then technical guidance document 2 is more for the economic operators. And I assume that that is now more relevant for this team or this audience that we have today here. And at the moment, Commission is working very hard. I think they will have very sweaty summer in front of them. They have this certification of FT platform, like regulation on the table, what they are now working. Then they have also a specification for FT service providers. So who is kind of looking this role that could be SaaS service provider for the FT platforms. And then also for those, they need to have certification. So Commission is now working with all of those. At the same time, they are also making a review for the existing implementing acts, because this is kind of working process in that sense that we have 3 big projects also at the same time: FT for All, which is kind of host of this webinar today. Then we have FT for Live and FT for EU. And in all of those projects, member states together with economic operators, they are already testing. And we have also utilized this power of this testing and working at the same time when writing the regulation, that we have found that some things needs to be iterated. And this work is done in close collaboration with the Commission also. And then one very urgent hot topic is also then the XSD work. I don't go on details on that, but that's now kind of about the data and how the data is exchanged between the systems. This is now under revision, and hopefully soon we have more answer for that. So I can say that now the seed for the FT is already there. FT is getting bigger, and we still have quite much to do so that the FT flower in 9th of July is really there. But I think we are on a good track, and we have already good track record from different kind of tests. So we have tested gate-to-gate communication, we have tested gate-to-platform communication, we have tested gate to competent authority. So pretty much we know how that is. For economic operators, there is still quite much possibilities, quite much also kind of new field, how to integrate your tributary systems, how to integrate FT platform as a service in your own premises, how to integrate that in your processes. But for those also, we will hear more after my presentation when other guys, they go deeper on this FT. Next slide. And yes, so this was very quick, short update about this. I know that we have given the same kind of what is FT in a nutshell also in 1 hour, but this was now in 15 minutes. And now Marco Corini, one of my colleagues from the FT expert team, will explain you more in details what the FT architecture actually means and how that is built. Marco, floor is yours.
Thank you, Lasse. Here I am. Good morning, everyone. I'm Marco Gorini from Magellan Circle, Italy. I'm also part of the EET, the FT expert team, that is this group of experts, let's call it this way, that is supporting all the three main major SEF projects, FT for You, FT for All, and FT for Live, that are actually ongoing, providing technical, mostly technical support, also administrative, but mostly technical support. This is because of our background, all the team, and specifically for what concerns me, I've been the project manager of the 3 consultancy services, consultancy contract that we had with the European Commission since 2021 for supporting the preparation of the technical specification and implementation acts of the regulation. So I will partially reuse some material that we already used within this consultancy, because this is official EU material that can be particularly useful, I hope, for clarifying the topic that I'm going to deal with, that is the different type of architectures for the FT platform. Before doing that, I would like to spend a couple of minutes to recall the overall FT reference architecture, as Lasse already introduced before. We can basically see two layers, two levels, two domains in this case: the public sector domain and the private sector domain. The public sector domain, as the name implies, is totally in charge of economic operators, of competent authorities of the 27 member states. And this is where the obligation comes. By the 9th of July 2027, all the 27 member states must have their own public infrastructure alive and kicking, operational. Because starting from the date, the member states are obliged to accept transport freight data that economic operator provide in an electronic form. If they are not able to do so, that the member state will fall into a procedure because it is a legal obligation. This also means that in theory, if an economic operator decides to go digital, it can even not bring any paper document, and even if a competent authority is not able to access FT for any reason, that economic operator is not punishable in any way, because the fault is on the public administrator, on the public side. As Lasse said, as Lasse highlighted, this obligation is in place for member states, while for economic operator, it is still optional to decide to go or not digital. This means that any economic operator can decide to keep on with paper documents. So we will see, and I will briefly try to introduce that a key for the success of FT is finding value, is finding services that can push the willingness of economic operator to go digital, not only for enforcement purposes, but also for other purposes, mainly interoperability, also including B2B. B2B is not in scope of FT, but it is a sort of ecosystem that is needed by FT. And this is the main reason why economic operator should decide to go digital. As Lasse said, on the public domain, on the public sector domain side, we have three type of components. The FT gate, that is a sort, as the name implies, is a simple gateway, is a simple message forward, basically, that acts as an interface between the user application, that is the mobile application that will be used by competent authority to make the checks on the road, in the stations, or whatever. So basically, the user application is the user interface, is the means by which the policy, the competent authority officer can do the control. In between the user application and the gate, we have the AAP, that stands for Authority Access Point. This component can be a standalone component, as in the right part of the diagram, or can even be embedded inside the FT gate. But what is clear is that we have these vertical flows from officer to user application, AAP gate, and this horizontal flow between the gate. As Lasse said, we will have a network, simply said, of 27 FT gates, maybe less, maybe more. But in any case, each and every competent authority in each and every member state must be able to reach an FT gate. And through this entry point, the FT gate can route the request to other FT gates and to any other FT platform in Europe. But this is not the topic, this is not the main topic of our session. We can now move to the private sector domain. And if you can click, Elena, we can highlight the FT platforms. The FT platforms are the main components at the economic operator side. They are the place where data are stored. This is an important point. one of the cornerstones of FT is data at source, meaning that the economic operator do not upload anything on the public infrastructure. They only send data upon request, meaning that whenever the competent authority makes a control, it starts a request. The request is delivered by the FT through the FT gate to the FT platform, and the FT platform replies to that request. So FT is basically a pull system, is not a push, is event-driven. Reply upon request, but the data normally reside at the home of the businesses, I mean, in the FT platform. We see here that we illustrated in two different colors, pale blue and pale yellow, to differentiate what is true FT, pale blue, and what is related to FT, but is more properly business systems. We can call them, in a way, legacy system. The yellow part is what already exists, because we know that the businesses, the economic operator, already have, normally, in general, some degree of digitalization, some degree of automation, some degree of interoperability, of B2B interoperability. This means that obviously there are obstacle barriers, different level of maturity, but as a matter of fact, we already have the yellow part working. So we will see how FT is a sort of intermediate layer, is a sort of mediation layer that enables the legacy system, the existing system, to interoperate and to provide data to authorities. Next slide, please. And this is exactly what I said. FT platforms, the blue part, can, and I would say will interoperate with existing business IT systems that already implement B2B workflows. We can call it legacy systems in a way, not in the negative accent, because sometimes legacy recalls old, not necessarily old. They can also be brand new, but in this case, legacy simply means existing, what is already there. And this legacy system, we can differentiate basically in two types of systems or platform. The yellow one, that are the operational platform that relate to the daily operation of the economic operators. For instance, booking, planning, monitoring, tracking, all this stuff that relates to the daily operation of the transport or logistic operation. In green, in pale green, we illustrated here e-document platform that are slightly different type of systems that relate to the preparation and the digitalization, preparation and exchange of documents with other parties. These other parties can be other businesses, like in the case of CMR, CIM, CMNI, or can be public authorities, like for dangerous goods, documents, ADR, RID, ADM, but we will have Carl deeply explaining this part later on in one of the next sessions. So we have these two, we made this distinction only to highlight that FT can be seen as a natural extension of the e-document platform, because FT will provide a mediation layer between existing e-document platform or platforms that are going to be developed and the competent authorities. Next slide, please. We basically can indicate three major architectures for FT platform, three major architectural options: standalone, layered, and distributed. I will briefly mention the standalone, that probably is the least relevant of the three, and can be considered a sort of theoretical exercise, but in practice, probably there will be no pure standalone FT platform simply because they do not make much sense. FT platforms make full sense when they interoperate with other systems. They can interoperate in a very close, in a very strict way, meaning that the FT platform can be seen as a layer, as a connector, as an adapter, as a piece of software that is plugged into the existing platform, into the existing system, or distributed, meaning that the FT platform can be a self-consistent system that interoperates with existing systems. In this case, they are called tributary system through some sort of machine-to-machine interoperability. So we can now see in more detail the difference between the three. Next slide, please. The standalone architecture means that we have some piece of software, the FT platform, that only provides FT functionalities. This is what makes them poorly relevant, because we can hardly see an operator that can do only FT alone without doing anything else. From this perspective, the standalone architecture means that the platform is totally independent from any other IT system used by T&L operators. It is suitable for all the cases where there is no need to exchange transport data through machine-to-machine interface. And this means that basically the standalone FT platform will have its own user interface. It would be likely a web-based or a mobile application through which economic operator direct enter transport data manually, data enter into the platform. It is theoretically possible, but having it alone doesn't make much sense. However, next slide, please. We can see how this is graphically represented. All the darker blocks inside the pale blue box represent different functional blocks, means pieces of software that do specific purposes. For instance, on the left, we can have a user interface that, as I said, will likely be a web interface, some kind of IAA standing for identification, authentication, authorization. That is that functionality that authenticates the user, do some sort of login, profiling, and so on. And then we could likely have a mobile application that is just a different way, a different form of user interface. And then at the center, we have the data processing and storage, the real database or whatever it is, the real repository where data are stored. We could have some sort of data transformation to adapt existing standard to the FT protocols. This is very important. We will have some functional.
En wat sta je voor de deur?
Sorry?
No.
Okay. And we can have some sort of auditing and logging because, as Lasse said, a platform needs to be certified, and as a part of certification, each and every platform must prove they can support auditability and logging of data, just in case to solve any possible court case. So auditing and logging is inherent part of the certification. Next slide, please. We now move to something more interesting, probably, that is the layered architecture. It is similar to the standalone in a way, because even the layered architecture is a standalone. I mean, we have a single system that does everything. But in this case, In this case, the FT layer is built on top of an existing IT system. So we just put a sort of connector, adapter, or whatever it is, that is needed to make the existing platform, the legacy system, certifiable and trustable as an FT platform. Example of legacy systems are what we illustrated some slides before. They can be e-document platform, and this is the most common use for service providers. And we will have a presentation later on by Pioneer on this use case. They can be other type of systems that can also be operational systems, yellow ones, that are directly operated by the economic operator, like TMSs for the management of the transport operation, planning, tracking, monitoring, or ERPs, enterprise resource planners for shippers. So whenever you have an existing system and you want to make it certifiable, you must implement on top of this. You must implement on top of this an FT layer that implements all the features that are needed for certification. This means that this TMS or this e-document platform could be promoted and certified to an FT platform. But still, it still remains a standalone system with its own user interface. This user interface could be used by multiple economic operator system, but economic operator users. But all these users will converge to the same user interface and the same system, the same platform. Next slide, please. Graphically, this is pretty much similar to what we saw before. Indeed, as I said, the layered architecture is just a special case of the standalone. We are still standalone. The functional blocks are exactly the same as before, but we differentiate in yellow what is already there, because probably the TMS will have its own user interface, will have its own mechanism for doing authentication and authorization of the users. It could be a username, password, or for FT purpose must be something more. It must be at least two-factor authentication. The existing system can have its own mobile application. For sure, it will have some database, some repository for data processing and storage. So whatever is yellow here is what is already there and must not be necessarily changed or better, only slightly adapted to support the FT layer. The FT layer on the right side in blue, these functional blocks are typical of FT and are needed for obtaining the certification, because the layered platform must interoperate with the FT gate, and for this purpose, we need a certified, we call it B2A interface. This is the real adapter between the platform and the gate. It will likely have some sort of data transformation because it is not guaranteed that the legacy system stores the data exactly in the same format as FT prescribes. And so we need some sort of data transformation. And again, we have the auditing and logging. All these three blue blocks are needed for obtaining the certification. This means that the software vendor or directly the IT department of an economic operator can start from the legacy system, from the yellow part, and develop some ad hoc functional blocks that plug into that system directly. You have a very strong interoperability in this case. It is not real machine to machine. All these blocks work in the same machine and more specifically inside the same system. So it is a very close link. But doing this adaptation, the overall boundaries, meaning that we have not only the layer, but the full legacy system can be considered and a certified FT platform. Next slide, please. Finally, we have the distributed architecture that is the most complete, comprehensive architecture in a way, and likely the most frequent, the most useful in the real world. In this case, we still have one FT platform. In this case, it is not an FT layer built on top of an existing system, but it is a self-consistent system that is called FT platform. In this case, better said, master FT platform. And we can have multiple IT systems. In this case, again, they are legacy, they are existing, that upload data to the FT platform through a machine-to-machine interface. And this is a sort of unidirectional upload. This architecture is suitable for all the cases where there is need to exchange data through machine-to-machine interfaces, and in most of the cases, this need arises when we have multiple economic operators that can already interoperate. One case could be, for instance, a shipper that interoperates digitally with a freight forwarder that interoperates digital with several carriers, one truck, one rail, one maritime, and so on. This is a case that already exists in reality. We can already have this sort of digital interoperability that is confined in a way to the B2B domain. By adding this FT platform, we implement the B2A interface, meaning that we can identify one of these systems that is called master FT platform that is promoted to the role of the certified platform that can interoperate with several existing systems that are called tributary systems. For some languages, tributary can recall some fiscal idea. That is not really the case. Tributary system in this case, as the meaning is the literal English meaning of feeder. Tributary is usually used for rivers, small rivers that feed bigger rivers, and this is exactly the case. So the tributary system can be considered as feeders. Next slide, please. This is the diagram. On top, we have the same architecture that we saw before. What before we called layered architecture. Now we call it master FT platform. But on the bottom line, we have this tributary system. Unfortunately, the interface is in dark blue. Apologies, and it is not well visible, but there is a machine-to-machine interface that connects the tributary system to the master FT platform. In this case, still we need some work on the master FT platform to make it certified. But for all the tributary systems, we see one, but we can have 2, 3, many. For the tributary system, the need for adaptation is very, very limited because the tributary system only needs to implement a B2B interface to the master FT platform that in most of the cases already exists. Next slide, please, is the last one. I think I'm a little over time, but we can manage. This is a summary of how this different type of architecture can be combined to fit for multiple use cases and to fit for different service models. In this case, we see that we can have or not have external service providers that will, in case we delegate, in case the economic operator delegates the management of FT and document in general, they outsource the document management to third parties, while on the right part, we have in-house model where the economic operator directly manage this part in-house. And these are examples, but there can be many, of how the different architectures can be combined together to build different scheme, simpler or more complicated to fit the specific needs of the economic operator. From that perspective, eFTI gives a big flexibility to the businesses to implement the architecture that better fits their needs. That's all by my side. I don't know. I asked the moderator if we must take questions now or do at the end.
We can maybe take questions at the end, but I think, Marco, you are one of those guys who really knows everything about FT regulation because you have been also writing those technical guidance documents. You opened a Pandora box, so in the chat there is a lot of questions. So I don't know how fast are your hands. You can also answer for those, but we will go on the Q&A session, then maybe more on those. So at the end of this webinar, we have a Q&A session, so then we can take those questions. But there, Marco, for you also, there is a lot of questions in the chat. I tried to also reply already on some of those, but please help me. There is so many questions in the chat, so we will check those.
I will try, hope I can. So
Yeah.
I leave the floor to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you. So then we have Nico Radopoulos from Greek, going deeper or going from the developer point of view on the architecture.
Thank you very much. It's a kind of disaster to speak after Marco, because he actually covered all the issues I was planning to speak about. So what I will do, I will not speak on a deeper technical point of view, and I will come to the real problem of the real market. For us, that first of all, I'm Nico Rodopoulos from Online Data, Greece. We are economic operators responsible for creating the platform from our eFTI for all project. So what is the problem that we cope, and I believe that most of the European countries, our colleagues cope the same, is to convince the economic operators, the transport companies, the forwarding companies, and so on, to get inside the eFTI, to operate with the eFTI, not only for piloting reasons, but actually for a business as usual, BAU as we call it in Greece, operation issues. What we have to answer is what they are going to gain using eFTI. And this is a big question that I believe that till now we cannot answer it exactly. On this point of view, and because our company is specialized in software for freight forwarders, transport companies, TMS, and logistics in general, in our background, we have created a lot of tools, and we have interconnected more than 1,000 companies all over Europe. So we have a very good knowledge of what the FTI and the data sets and whatever needs to be sent, even for e-documents. At this period of time in Greece, what we do, we have a very large government program, state program, that all delivery nodes that are issued for domestic or international distribution have to be inserted to a special kind of eFTI, let's say local domestic eFTI, and also transshipment from vehicle to vehicle, from logistics company to logistics company, etc., will be described there. So this is coming close to what we are planning to do, what Europe is planning to do. So which is the perspective from our side is, we have from one side, we have the economic operators, shippers, carriers, 3PS, freight forwarders, etc. And they have a legacy system, different TMS, international, domestic, local, warehouse management systems, fleet management systems, etc., etc. And very few of them are using in CMR in Greece. Only they use it on pilot basis for some projects. So what we are doing, we have created an authentication system in between the platform, the tools, and the gate in order to gain transparent login in all the system, one time login, and so the platform middleware identify the user is giving identity and the right access management to the data. I saw the questions regarding GDPR, etc. We are not handling personal information in this kind of system. Mainly, all these the stakeholders of the transport actually are enterprises, so it's minimizing the idea and the compliance with GDPR. So we have one way, one login, user authentication, company roles, delegated access, authority permissions, etc., etc. And in Greece, we will use the same system that companies are connected to the government, because we have e-government, a lot of our procedures. So they will have one only code throughout the FT. So the platform API is planning to receive any kind of data which are through their API infrastructure, EDI, UNEDI, IFC SAM, XML, any kind of structure, different data, or even custom created files from freight forwarding companies, from TMS, etc. They will pass it through a data exchange layer. This data exchange layer is an agnostic enterprise data which stores, validates the data, gives them the structure, including all necessary data mappings in order to the platform then to speak to the gate, and it prepares and exposes the information to the platform. The platform, the only thing it's doing is connecting to the gate and sending the data. If we have a document, we have special procedures in order, together with the data structure, to include e-documents, CMR, bill of lading, CIM, and so on. So this is our architecture, and according with the discussions we have with especially freight forwarders, international freight forwarders, I know what we are a leading company for software providers for them in Greece and the Balkans. Also, what we discuss, we have the same idea of how they will use it, because they don't want to mess with any other kind of information, and they don't want to change their system. They don't want to invest even for their IT to create new interfaces. So what we do the dirty job, the laundry in the middle. We give it to the data exchange layer, which is the main hostage of the data, together with the e-document layer. And this, the only thing, is sent straight to the FT platform, which is connected to the gate. The gate is national. It's not private. The platform is private, because platform can create everybody, everyone, or even the TMS, because I see also the questions, Lasse, from the chat, but should be certified. We are very anxious waiting the on process of certification, because this is a very critical for every one of us that who is created a platform, and in order to be in the middle between the market and the gate. This is the idea. I didn't want to take you a lot of time because Marcos said a lot of things. Thank you very much, Helena. Gate identity, API gateway, secure M2M, machine to machine, 100%, platform gate, data exchange layer, error handling and reply messaging handling. And that's all. If, I say if, as Marcos said, we don't have only push, but also pull data, this will change the next day of eFTI for Europe. So we are very, very anxious to see when we complete all these procedures we have to do, all the team, the three different projects for Europe. We have excited to see if eFTI will transform its existence to a data exchange system for every stakeholder, especially the transport market. Thank you very much, Lasse. I'll give the floor to the next one because
Thank you,
Marco
Nico.
covered very much also technical and deep down things, so I didn't want to
That's very good.
repeat this information.
That's very good.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you, Nicholas. And next one we have from Abona, Osusturk, and Abona has already been active on those testings. So now you will hear from the economic operator point of view how they are integrating those systems together so that we can really get that data. And I see one of those questions that we have also in the chat is related on that when you have several systems, like typically we are building, how those are connected. So now, Augustin, floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. My name is Oskan Öztürk. I am from Abona, and I have to agree with Nicolas. Like, so much has already been said of what we were going to go into this in this segment of the presentation. But what we can do now is we can go into the details, like step by step, what these things mean for you. And you can see where you will find yourself in this ecosystem. Because let's say if we are from the transport logistics space, we will find ourselves somewhere there. So maybe a little bit to our background, from which perspective we're coming. We at Abona are a software developer and have an ERP system, and also a part of it is a TMS system, so transport management system. And there, because we have many customers in the logistics sector, and there we developed it into an ECMR and digital document system that we now want to, with an eFTI for all project, make eFTI able. So this is the path that we have come from when you mean that, Lasse. And there are many ways on how you can become part of this eFTI universe, let's say. So let's look at this this graph. This is pretty much the quintessential. Like, if you can take something with you, it's probably this one, because here you can see how these things are connected on a very basic level. We will start with the logos from the left, so the business side, and work ourselves towards the right, the authority side. At the start of this whole change, of this whole eFTI chain, we have the transport companies and their current systems, what they're right now using. These can be ERP systems, these can be transport management systems, these could be document management systems. So whatever you are using to do your tasks, and which then generate transport data, and this transport data you can then use to generate digital documents from, so digital data sets. And then what do you do with these digital data sets? You link these, you link your system to an eFTI platform of your choice. Could be any one. And what you do is you send over the data that you need for these transport documents. and they are stored on the eFTI platform. And then you're good for now. Because eFTI platform, it will do the communication with the authorities. Like this is the link from how you can see business on the left side and government on the right side. And what then happens is, let's say you have a transport and you transport these amounts of pallets with these goods from point A to point B with the following truck. And the eFTI platform has this data and only sends over to the eFTI gate the identifiers. So which truck and where you can find the data sets that have been stored in the eFTI platform. So which country, which platform, which place in the platform. And so you don't store anything like no information about the goods or about the actual goods on the eFTI gate. These are all on the business side to the left. And now we move to the very right, to the competent authorities. So let's say you have an authority, might be a police officer, might also be, God forbid, in a tragic case, a firefighter, because a truck is now burning and they want to know what they have loaded, so how can we extinguish it? They now could, for example, type into their system, like into their phone, into their tablet, their mobile system, and into their software solution, the number plate of the respective truck they want to now control. And this gets sent over one step to the left to the eFTI gate. And it asks, hey, do you have any information on this truck? And the gate checks, says, oh yes, I know that this truck has data in this country, on this platform, at this space. So it connects to the eFTI platform, requests this data. Like we said, it's a pulling system, not a pushing system. So it asks, can you please give me your most current information regarding this transport? So the eFTI platform checks what the current version or the latest version of this document is and sends it over to the eFTI gate, which then forwards it to the competent authority. So it's always step by step by step, and these steps, they never get skipped. It's always link by link by link. And what do I mean with most current version of the document? Let's say you have an eCMR. At first, you have a blank. There's just nothing on it. Transport hasn't really been started because the goods, they're just at the loading place. Once you pick them up, once the carrier and the consignor sign it, now it's a different document because now you have the two signatures. So this gets updated and it's also on the road now. So the competent authorities, if they check it now versus if they check it, let's say, when it got delivered, when it got already, when you got the first signature of the consignee, these are two separate cases. So they will always get the latest version with the, let's say, latest signatures. And what does that mean for an international transport? Like, what can we make out of all of these building blocks? I might skip to the next slide. This is an example for an international transport that should display what it means that the gates are connected, because now things get interesting. And this is also a pilot project that we had with our partners Pionera and 51bis that we have already, let's say, realized and presented within the eFTI for All community. We have, in this case, a transport that starts in Belgium via truck and goes over to Germany. So road transport, Belgium to Germany. So we have a Belgian company, they use a TMS, could have also used a DMS, for example, or an ERP, and they sent the data over to their Belgian platform, the Belgian eFTI platform. This then sends this data or these identifiers over to the eFTI gate of Belgium. And now that's that. In the, let's say, the case, if the Belgian authority had reviewed them or would request them, we've seen already. But what if they go to another country, for example, Germany, another country within Europe, and now the German authority requests the data. So the German authority, they type in the number plate, it requests that the gate the data from the eFTI gate of Germany, and the gate says, no, I don't have anything on this truck, but I am connected to all the other gates. So I will ask all the other gates, hey, do you have anything regarding this truck? And they will check, and most gates will say no, but the eFTI gate of Belgium, they will say, yes, I have something. And then they will request this data from the eFTI platform in Belgium and forward it to the eFTI gate in Germany, which then forwards it to the competent authority in Germany. And again, it's always the steps in the link. A step never gets skipped. It's always from partner to partner to partner to partner, all in a secured, harmonized data exchange environment. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, August. And yes, Abona has been one of those partners who has been in the testing already. So in a Q&A session, you can also put a lot of questions to August. He's not that scary, although he looks sometimes a little bit scary. Then we go forward, and next one we have Karl Stark from JPK Trusted Partner. And now I can say that this man really knows about dangerous goods. So please, Karl, explain us how FT and dangerous goods go hand in hand.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lasse. Please, next slide. Yeah, the use case, the motivation use case of the integration of the UNECE guidelines 5402 from the dangerous goods regulations, ADR for street, RID for train, and ADN for inland navigation into the FT regulation. So shortly, you can say TP1, TP2 goes FT. Next slide, please. This is the legal background for FT for the TP1, TP2 system. You can go to the next slide. It's just to give you the background. This example is how TP1, TP2 is currently working, and if you see the pictures, it looks absolutely similar to this what FT is providing or is asking, and it is, yeah, for us it was so not a big issue to participate in this project, because dangerous goods needs, or the dangerous goods data needs everybody, but it is difficult to provide them on the digital way because of the you have to update these data every 2 years in your system, and the system is asking for a special data format, the Digitina data format, to provide these data in the system. So you see here on the left side the private actor. It's the same as August Kahn already mentioned, or the others before. You have the private actor, the shipper, consigner, haulier, carrier, whatever, with his own SAP system or ERP system or TMS system. And when the truck or the train or the inland ship is starting the trip, you provide the data into the TP2 system, where on the TP2 server, where the data are stored during the trip from A to B. And in case, the same as Marco, Nico, and August Kahn already mentioned, in case a competent authority on the right side, police, fire department in Germany, you have to make sure that in other countries, fire departments are not allowed or has no access to these data. That it's in Germany and some other countries, but this is not in all Europe countries. In the case there is a reason to control the trucks, the train, or to get data for this train, you will use the app TP1 from JPK Trusted Partner, and then you will get the data from the TP2 server. And only in this in the time where the truck or the trip is the trip duration from the consigner to the consignee. Next slide, please. And this is what I mentioned. TP1, TP2 goes FT. You see on the left side, the current solution. Germany is the only country in Europe or in the 53 ADR member states where the TP1, TP2 solution is already used from the authorities, from the Ministry of Transport. We are asked to do this, and we are certified to do this for Germany. There are solutions available in France, solutions available in Italy and Austria, but they are currently not used because the decisions from the local ministries where we wait on FT. Germany did the other thing. They said, let us start with the UNECE guideline in Germany and look how it works. So I will show you on the slide later that France, the colleagues from NeoGLS, are also able to control the data from our German TP2 server as the competent authorities can do it in Germany. And the same structure, data structure, and the same not data structure, the same data process will be in FT as well. Next slide, please. So this is the typical front end from the German TP1. So consigner, consignee, all data which has to be presented to the competent authority on the legal base from 5411 in ADR, for example, are on this page available and viewable for the competent authorities. BALM, for example, or police, they have their handhelds or their automatic systems in their cars, control cars. They are typing in, as August Kahn already mentioned, they are typing in the identifier, license plate, or whatever, and then they can see all information needed. For example, when they are also having a container, you have the container identifier or the wagon number on the train case. So this is the identifier, the front end in the TP1 in Germany. Next slide, please. What I mentioned, this is the same information in the TP1 of NeoGLS. So this is more or less absolutely the same, just another layout, but the data are the same. Next slide, please. So now what I mentioned, TP2 as a tributary system from GBK Trusted Partners, we provide our data for the FT platform currently with two different solutions, either via REST API over the Estonian testbed or e-delivery via Tollcollect, the German testbed. So BALM or other authorities are able to control these data. Next slide, please. Oh, there's missing one. I thought I had one slide more. I thought I had one more slide where you can see the result in FT already. So on the toll collect side. What I just want to explain is that dangerous goods is absolutely necessary to have to fulfill all regulations which are asked in the dangerous good regulations, and to be honest, to transfer this into the FT monster data format, it's not so easy. So everybody who is thinking about doing an FT platform with dangerous goods data you're invited to contact me or GBK to support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl. And yes, if you have some questions about dangerous goods, please keep those now in your head, and then on the Q&A, Carl can also go deeper on those. And then last but not least, we have Barry van Leeuwen from Bionera. Not anymore driving, I assume. Are you there, Barry?
I'm in front of my desk, so
Good.
thanks.
Now safe.
Yeah, fine and well. Thanks all. The last one, so it's a difficult one after all those previous speakers. So I will start with one liner. Digitalization in logistics is like a Rubik's Cube. It's a lot of things you have to do. It's not that easy. You have a lot of partners in logistics. If you choose for something in administration, TMS and ERP systems, then it has effect on the whole organization. Digitalization is totally different because you have different stakeholders in the workflow of handling the materials. So we started more than 15 years ago, 25 years experience in transport. And we split it up. We market leader in Europe for the electronic documents. And that's very important that we learned the past 15 years what is difficult. Even before FT was there, it was difficult to create a lower barrier for the logistic players that they can use and see the opportunities to go on a digitally way. So what we start, and you have FT what's coming up. You have in some systems, you have DWAS who's coming up. Waste in May 2026 for Annex 7 and B1. National legislation, like in Spain in October. You have all kind of TMS systems and so on. So we build a neutral, independent platform. And August Kahn, thanks for the setup, because we did some tests with each other about the interoperability between systems. That's a very important one. And today we have more than 55,000 users across Europe. And transport, it's not something that everyone doing the same way. They all have the uniqueness, things they want to do, and they have to take into account that is a very important one, that not only the CMR is there, but you have waste, you have their own package list, you have their own documents. That's important that you take into account that there's more than a CMR of legal documents they use during the transport. Next slide, please. So what we built, and this is an important one, I'm using 3 slides already in every presentation, because a lot of logistic players, they are confused. What kind of document I need to use? This is what we call our matrix system, and that gives a good overview of what kind of documents we will use today in paper and can be used in an electronic way. So in the first line, you see all the information. The first column, you see all the types of documents. Then you have the scope of the transport. It has national or international. It's depending on a convention. It's a national law and so on. So you can share it, you can use it afterwards, but that's a very good overview on what is coming up, where you have to take in consideration what is legally, what is not, and so on. It was said in the beginning by Lasse that FT is coming up. What is mandatory for every European member state to accept electronic documents, but not on the side of the shippers and transport companies. So they can still, as long as it's not mandatory, it's up to us, like GBK, August Kahn, and other software organizations, to help the logistics to go do in digitally way. Otherwise, FT has no reason to exist. And if we want to go to the next level for digitalization, we are 2027, where we look at July. That's the first one. That's for transports. That's FT is coming up. Then you have national consignment notes. That's totally not connected with the FT, but the national transport document in Spain will be mandatory in October 2026, what is coming up very early. Then we have e-move, soil, and so on. That it's national transport documents specific for Belgium, what is mandatory. And then we have cleaning in everything what is in chemicals. And that's important. Cleaning has its own document, what is not something that demanded by the government, but it's a document they define themselves in cleaning, that you see the previous loads in the tanks and how it's been cleaned. Next slide, please. Then we go to waste transport, different than road transport. When you do waste, you also need an eCMR or CMR by the transport. For Belgium, national waste transport is mandatory since the 1st of January. Then we have in the Netherlands begeleidingsbrief. And then that's important. Besides the eFTI, what is coming up, we have in May 26, 21st of May 26, we have DWAS for all transport of waste cross-border, non-dangerous and dangerous goods, Annex 7 and Annex 1B. That is what you have to take in consideration as well, because it's not only eFTI, it's the whole thing of documents, and that's important. This is important that it's 2 days before the transport, you need to register the transport in the DWAS environment, and then you can create the electronic documents. Next, please. I do my presentation a little bit different, otherwise I repeat what my other colleagues in this meeting already done. And then we have animal byproduct. But more important is that in the platform, you can use your own documents as well. If you have something that it's important, that you have a checking list, that you need to have pictures, that you have a waiting slip or a delivery note of whatever you want, that you can edit in the platform as well. And that we, as Pioneer, and that was the biggest effort we have to do and to counter, is that we want to work as what the banks are doing, a SWIFT layer. A neutral, independent layer that different stakeholders in logistics can connect over the platform of Pioneer. They can share the data, and we make interoperability with other systems. Because I saw it in the chat box, and what happens when TMS systems and ERP systems? We have to be aware that everyone can create electronic documents, and they can use the necessary things. Indeed, eCMR and eFTI are not the same. I know it's the electronic documents, but they look always at the eCMR. All kind of documents. What I was saying is you have TMS systems, ERP systems, your warehouse systems, all kind of IT systems. And if they all create their own e-documents, what is 100% legal and accepted, if you have your the possibility to create, then there is a new system and a new problem that's popping up. That's the interoperability between systems. So that means that if you have board computers, Tremble, Transix, Astrata, and so on, that all the systems need to be connected, because only when you share data with each other, then you can create electronic documents and you can redraw information as well. Next slide, please. And it's important to take in consideration that even today, 2027, there are small companies in logistics who doesn't have any entire IT environment. They don't have TMS systems. They don't use planning systems. But then we have to cover and see that they can work with large companies who does have the ability to buy IT environments as well. So therefore, there are a portal. They can go online. The only thing they need, it's a browser, an IT system, a computer, a device with the port, but the connection to internet, and then via a browser they can use and create electronic documents manually via the portal. Do you have recurring businesses, and even then you don't have an IT system? You can do it by template, or you can do it via an integration. Next slide, please. So that covers the whole IT environment and the whole logistics for small, medium, and large companies, that they can use the system and work together with each other. Otherwise, we have a new system and a new problem that they cannot work together. Right? Some of them, they even not have today in 2026, a smartphone. They have an old phone they use only for calling and using SMS. Even then, you have to see that we can solve some things and that they can work together in an environment of digital documents. Next one, please. That's an important one. API layers, integrations, clients who have an ERP system, There we want to be a neutral, independent platform. And that's an important one, that we connect with the levels of the entire IT environment, ERP, TMSs, and so on. So we split it up in two parts. We have the economic operators, transport companies, shippers, warehouses, inland terminals, whatever it is. They can make a connection directly. Today, they're making connections with each other via an EDI. So there's a lot of spaghetti between the different stakeholders. If someone changes the environment, if you use another application, if there are updates, there could be issues by sending data from one place to another. So we say, okay, if everyone created one link to a central platform who's interoperable with other systems, then we can create a circle of trust. And that's an important one. So we take away the burden of doing large investments on an IT environment. So all kinds of IT environments are welcome to connect. It's open and neutral. And then the second layer is the layer to the FT. Then the moment we go for FT, then we transfer to the second layer the data and the subsets. And there are today 27 subsets in the FT. And we take away the necessary information to the FT gate. And we will transform from a Swift layer to an FT platform. And therefore, we offer FT as a service. And that's an important one, that not everyone in logistics, IT environments, transport companies, they want to create it themselves. They say, okay, we don't need to develop. They can connect directly and we offer it as a service. And then that part of information we share with the FT gates. And we connect with an FT gate in French. We can connect to other ones. And that's the next circle of trust. So the top layer, next slide, please. It's an important one that that's the same what you do with the bank. You don't ask your bank, can I pay in other countries? Can I make QR codes? Can I pay online and everything? You trust your bank and you do everything what is necessary. And behind the layers, they're checking and they connect to the different banks. If you go from Belgium to Portugal, to Spain, to other countries, and you withdraw money, you don't ask yourself questions. You put your card in the ATM machine. The ATM machine knows, okay, that's a Belgium card. I have to connect to a Belgium gate. They connect to the Belgian bank and they see if there is enough money in your bank. And that's the same what the FT stands for, that you create different layers. The operators, the FT platforms, and the FT gates to the authorities. And that is how we have the circle of trust. Top side, economic operators, IT environments, and the creation of the electronic documents. And the next part is taking away some of the data, what is necessary for road control, the authorities, and sending those information from an FT platform to an FT gate to the authorities. And let's make it more simple and make it more transparent and make it global. That is transparency. We not need all to develop the new things beside each other. We have to work together. Otherwise, the interoperability is the most important one for all the parties during the logistics. Next, please. And that's the one. That's top layer and second layer. The top layer is everything for the economic operators. And that's an important one. They don't need to have any concern about FT and how it works and how to connect to FT gates and what is going on. That is for the FT platforms. This is the Abonas, the Karls, the people in Greece. We all have the expertise to build and to connect with each other, and this is important. Top layer is the circle of trust. You connect manually via the portal, API, EDI, whatever, XML, CSV, what is saying before, and then you have an app. You can use the app of your own, you can use the board computer, you can the app who is available, and so you can create the circle of trust. And that moment, then the FT platforms. And this is how it works for the authorities. And in total, you have a total structure and trust that everyone is involved in it. And that makes that it goes a little bit faster and to convince the transport companies, the economic operators, shippers, and so on to go digital. It's not that difficult because we take away a lot of concerns about how to create and connect to all those things. Next, please. Same what I say. It's just a slide. The comparison between what happens when you do payments without asking questions. You pay, all of us in this virtual environment today. We do daily payments and we don't ask questions about, okay, what happens with my money? I push the button, show my face, put a code of 4 digits in it, and I transfer money to another part. Okay, and we trust on the system. So now we have to do the same at the part on the FT and sharing data for creating electronic documents in logistics. Next, please. And that's it. I hope it was clear and a little bit different than my previous speakers and colleagues in this FT environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry. And now it's time for audience to make questions. In the chat, we have tried to answer already some of those, but yes, we can also continue the discussion with your audio. So at least we have first hand we have from Arthur.
Yeah, I can give the possibility to Arthur to talk now. You can activate your audio, Arthur. You should be able.
I see, Lasse, that it's a lot of mistakes during FT and ECMR.
Yeah, I have also a couple of those topics that what was discussed also in a chat that I think we need to still clarify a little bit. One big topic was that can platform to be connected in only one gate or also several gates? That was one. Then there was a lot of questions also about the certification process. Then there was some questions about the data. And then there was also what is this interface between platform to gate. And then, yes, one big topic which is always with us is what is the difference between ECMR and FT? And but before we jump on those, Elena, let's try with you. Can you open your mic? Can you hear us, Elena? On the left side of the screen, there should be audio. If not, then you can also use the chat, maybe if not possible. But yeah, if you have questions now, can you hear us, Elena?
Is anybody else moderator? Then he can unmute Elena as well.
Yeah, I think now the mic is, at least it's red anymore. But maybe...
I see that she
She's there.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Elena.
Sorry, got lost between two screens. Okay, let me find.
But maybe who wants to take this? What is the difference between ECMR and FT? Like both are there on the table. They are same, but different, and they are like for different purposes. Who wants to go deeper on that and open more?
Maybe I can, since this is a question that I got 1,000 of times during our consultancy for the Commission. Obviously, there are two different things. One thing do not replace the other. What at least my perspective, the way I try to explain this is that the CMR in general, and the electronic version, ECMR, will still continue to exist. The CMR and ECMR is a contract between parties. So basically is a B2B document, is a contract between a shipper who wants to move some goods from A to B and one or more transport operators that do the physical movement. This means that basically it is a contract between who carries the goods and who wants the goods to be carried, and also regulates the transfer of liability of the goods. If anything goes damaged, if anything goes stolen or whatever. So if the CMR is a contract, is a B2B document, will continue to exist and will keep exactly the same purpose that it has. The point is that now the CMR is used is a B2B document that is maybe improperly used for B2A controls, because it is the only place where the competent authority can find the information for doing the controls that the law enables. So it is a commercial document. It is a B2B document that it is used for B2A purposes. This also brings some problem, because as a matter of fact, the CMR keeps a broad number of information, a broad amount of information. Not all this information is required for the competent authority, only a subset of this. But today, when the policeman asks to the driver, give me the CMR, please, the policeman can read all the data, not only what he can, but also other data that in principle he should. FT, and another important thing is that even the eCMR, the electronic version of CMR, is still a document. It is an electronic document, but it is a document. FT, in general, is not a document. FT is a series of data sets, pure digital data that have no real correspondence, have no one-to-one correspondence to any document. In general, electronic documents like eCMR are used to feed FT, but they are not the same. So feed takes for a road transport, feed takes only the data that are relevant for the competent authorities, only those. FT takes this data from the CMR and moves to the FT platform. The same, for instance, for rail happens with the CIM or SGNS. For inland navigation, this happens for CM&I, and so on and so forth. So the big difference that I see are CMR is a document, FT is a dataset. CMR is a B2B, FT is B2A. CMR brings and keeps a huge number of information, including those that are not relevant, while FT only brings information that are relevant for the competent authorities. And this is another of the benefits, in a way, of for the economic operator, because with FT, you have the guarantee that the competent authority only see what they can see. That's it, full stop. So I would say that these are the major differences, but probably Barry can explain even better.
Yeah.
Not better, just additionally, since many years, there are different countries who they make their own decision the last 10 years if they accept electronic eCMR or not. And that's an important one. You have the difference between national transport. In France, it's lettre de voiture. In Germany, it's Lieferschein. In Spain, it's Carta de Porta, Documento de Control, and so on. So every country has for national transport, and that's not the same as a CMR. That's a vrachtbrief. It's a national transport document. And then you have the CMR, and therefore are today 28 different countries who signed up, not only European countries, even Russian and other Azerbaijan, accept the electronic eCMR as well, the electronic consignment note. So it's totally different. And Marco, well say, between the documents that is used in transport and the FT. Thank you. So you can use for many years the electronic consignment note already. Just additionally, now we take away a little bit of the data of the electronic consignment note to pass through in 27 to the FT platform, FT gate for the authorities, like Marco says. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to challenge you, Barry. You had so good pronunciation for those different country versions. So what is in Finnish? Do you know?
Good question.
But
it has several keys for sure.
Yeah, it is. Marco, maybe you started already a little bit about one of the last questions that we got in the chat was that how we ensure which data the competent authority can see. And maybe you could elaborate a little bit more about that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. This is well inscribed in the law. As I said before, we have a number of European laws, European regulation and directives that establish clearly with individual information requirements a competent authority can access for a given purpose. One important thing that we never said before, FT did not add any regulatory information. There is not a single data element that FT introduced that was not there before. Indeed, the Article 2.1 of the main FT regulation lists all the European regulation and directives that fall in scope and say, for doing this type of control, refer to Regulation 11/1960, Article XYZ, where you see that a competent authority for enforcement for enforcing the fair rates and conditions and to avoid and to regulate the internal competition within Europe. For this type of control, the competent authority can access to address of the consignee, address of the consignor, the carrier, the nature and weight of the goods, some information that, by the way, is all contained in the CMR, as we said. So what a single competent authority can access is already written in law, and it is very, very clear. And thanks to FT, the Commission introduced a structured and digital and trusted mechanism to ensure that this regulation are obeyed. For instance, if you remember when I presented the general scheme, we had this AAP component, that is the component through which a competent authority makes the login. When an officer makes a login, it is obviously recognized by the system, and depending on the police body, the type of purpose, the type of control, the rank of the officer, each individual has assigned what they can see and what they cannot see. So when the officer press the button and ask, give me the information for this transport, it only receives the information that that individual can see. Another individual, another officer from the same police maybe could see more. We don't know. This depends on the national laws. But what a single individual can access is written in law, so it is very clear, and FT guarantees that they cannot access more. That's a very important point. And just to make another example, Carl made before the example of the fire brigade or in general of emergency responders. This is an interesting yet particular case. Not in all the member states this is possible, but where this is possible, it is clear that the fire brigade officer that is that is running for extinguishing a fire, it doesn't make any sense that he accesses the address of the consignor or address of the consignee. This is not relevant for him. What is important is to know what is the type of goods that are burning and how to extinguish them. So in this case, the subset that is physically acceptable by emergency responder is different from the subset that can be accessible for the finance police or for the road police, so on and so forth.
Thank you, Marco. I think that helped a lot. Before going to the next topic, can Elena Voiku, can you now open your mic if you have a question? You have still hand raised. No. Okay. Then there is also a question about the fees, and for that I can answer easily is that at least what we have now discussed, the competent authorities are not asking money for the data exchange. Actually, it has been vice versa. Let's have, for example from Estonia, where the Estonian government, they actually gave funding for economic operators to implement ECMR and FT implementations. So they have been supporting that also. But of course, this is something that I don't, this is still evolving, and let's see what the future is. Then one topic that was also discussed and asked in the chat was the platform to gate interface, what those are. And maybe Augustin, Abona has utilized both e-delivery and also the REST API. Could you explain a little bit more platform to gate interface, what are the kind of like options and what is mandatory for competent authority, gate providers to have there?
I must say at this point, I am not the most technical guy, so I can't go into the technical details. But the basis, the most important thing is there are standards, stick to those standards. So this is what everybody tries to, or but it seems like everybody tries to avoid, to stick to the standards. But all the standards are there, like UNICEF, for example, and we can just use those to connect our systems.
Yeah. Do you want Marco go deeper on the from the regulation point also?
That would be very good. I think Marco is far more technical than me.
Oh. So and
Yeah,
so, not so sure. But
I'm
okay.
also not so the technical expert, but to be honest, we have currently what I mentioned in our data sheets. We provide the data we receive from our customers based on the legal regulations. We provide them through the system into the platform, and from the platform with the converter available in the data format which is asked by FT. So the interface is pending to the information you receive from the economic operator.
Mm-hmm. Any other comment?
If I can elaborate a little, what the regulation establishes, this is mandatory for all the member states. All the FT gate must implement a so-called e-delivery interface. E-delivery is a building block that has been developed by the European Commission some years ago. It is a sort of agnostic delivery message system, message delivery system. So it is a way for transmitting a generic message from two endpoints using the internet, but in a safe and trusted way, because it provides all the encryption and security layers so that it is guaranteed that the contents of the message cannot be sniffed or cannot be illegally accessed, obviously to the most to the reasonable level of security that we can offer. So this type of interface is mandatory. All the members, all the FT gates, because remember that in a member state, in principle, there could be more FT gates. This could be the case for federal state, where maybe each state could want to run its own, or it could be the case for state where different competent authorities want to run their own gate. So in general, all the FT gates must always implement the e-delivery. So the delivery interface. So any platform builder knows that no matter what gate it will choose, the e-delivery channel that is more or less well specified in the technical specification of FT is available. This is common to all the gates across Europe. That said, at national level, each government can, or better, each competent authority operating a gate can decide to provide additional interfaces. They are usually API interfaces, the most obvious way. In most of the cases, they are REST APIs that are alternative to e-delivery. But this depends on the national law. So one gate must implement e-delivery, can implement additional interfaces. Obviously, there is no standard prescribed by the Commission for these interfaces. So each member state is free to implement in the way they want. This means that if a platform builder wants to use this alternative interface, they must know what is the gate. They must know the specification of that specific interface of that gate. Important. Obviously, if this choice exists, only one can be taken. I mean, if in Italy, the Italian gate enables both e-delivery and another API, if I am a platform builder and I connect to that gate, I choose to use the API, I must not implement also e-delivery and vice versa. When a choice exists, you choose one and that's it.
Yeah. Before I open the floor for our business guys and about the business cases, maybe Marco, just add on this. There was also quite much questions regarding that can platform be connected on several gates or only one? So can you shortly also describe this case?
It's a tricky point. I mean, this is something that has been added by the Commission.
Did we lose Marco?
In the very latest stages of development, I can hardly find a. Sorry, do you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I honestly do not see a real use case for doing that, but in principle, a platform can connect to multiple gates with some constraints. First, simultaneously, I mean, first, even if a platform is connected to 2 or 3 gates simultaneously, when it creates a dataset for a consignment, it must decide to which gate it is connected, and it must remain the same. I can choose one dataset is linked to gate 1, dataset B is linked to gate 2, and dataset C is linked to gate 3. But once I decided, I cannot change it anymore. And this means that even if a platform is connected to multiple gates, a single dataset is always reachable through a single gate. This is the first point. The second point is about certification, and it is more, how can I say, operational, regulatory operational issue, not a technical one. What the regulation prescribes, what the regulation establishes, is that a member state must, an eFTI gate must accept the connection of an eFTI platform that has been certified in the same member state. Can accept an eFTI platform that has been certified in another member state. So if I am a platform builder, I certify my platform in Italy, all the Italian gates must accept me. Full stop. There is no doubt on this. If I ask the Belgian gate to connect, the Belgian gate, and I am still certified in Italy, the Belgian gate can say yes or no. This has an implication on the multi-gate connection, obviously, because if a single platform wants to connect to multiple gates, probably from different countries, in order to be sure that it will be actually accepted by all the gates, it must get certified in all the member states of where all the gates run, in order to be sure. Otherwise, it is not ensured that a platform certified in the member state A is accepted by a gate of the member state B. There is an exception, but I think to keep it short, we can just close here.
That was good. Then in the chat, there was also a question about where we can find information about the interfaces. For that reason, I shared you the eFTI admin information or email, because at the moment that is not that publicly available. All the gate developers who are building now the gates, they are doing testing. So that is also one question that there was also in the chat, that how I can be or we can be connected to the gate if the certification is not available yet. Yes, that's true. That officially you need to have certification if you want to go in production. But since also eFTI will go in production 9th of July 2027, so it's not there yet. But gate developers, they are doing testing. So it might be that if you contact your national gate developer, they might be interested to do testing with the platforms. Under these projects, eFTI for EU, eFTI for All, and eFTI for Live, beneficiaries who are there in the projects, they are doing this kind of testing together. But there has been also some, like outside the project, some platform developers who have been able to or interested to do this kind of testing. But it's then up to the member state. And that's why I shared that email, that we can then maybe guide you from which country you are. Are you looking which kind of like collaboration? We have also under eFTI for All, we have also generated a test bed, which can be utilized also for gate to platform, but also gate to gate testing. So that is also available. But for all of these, there is now this hot topic about the data. So the XSD work, which will then have an impact also what we are testing. So now gate developers and also platform developers who are in the project, they are waiting now very eagerly when we get the next XSD, and then that needs to be implemented, and then we can build next test round on top of that. So I recommend that now, yes, you can contact already your national gate developers or via that eFTI admin email, and we will help you and guide you on the right places. But at the moment, it's maybe good to wait at least a couple of weeks or months so that we have the next version. But then one question that was also there, which is, of course, there was also one answer for that also already, is that what is this for business? Why to invent on eFTI? And now I'm looking our business guys, Barry, Osuga, and Karl, how to sell eFTI for other economic operators? Why they should invest? Barry.
I think they don't have to take care of eFTI. If you choose a platform who has the connections with an eFTI and works as an eFTI platform to an eFTI gate, then it's not of their concerns. I think the biggest issue and the chicken and the egg is who will start with the electronic documents. If it's inland waterways, it's a train, it's road transport, doesn't mind. They have to switch. This it's in the mind. They have to switch and they have to talk. And communication is the only part who is important to create leverage in it, because the transport companies look at the shippers and they say, okay, we as a transport company, we do transports for many shippers, so we cannot demand to our shippers to go for an electronic consignment node. Shippers, they say, okay, today it's the responsibility of the driver. So there's a lot of issues in communication by how starting. And I think the best way to start is to do it. Do it step by step. It has no influence on the daily business because it's not it's not an TMS system. It's not a bookkeeping program. You can do it step by step and learning by doing. It's the most best advisor can give. Is the one thing to see, okay, what is now the difference? And stop with the excuses. My drivers cannot use a smartphone. They don't have a smartphone. It's easier. Hey, this is, guys, girls, everyone in this meeting, this is 2026. We pay daily online with apps and everything. So I don't see any issues. And try it, do it. That's the best advice I can give. Jump into it.
Thank you, Barry. I didn't notify which one was first.
Carlos first.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I think one big point Barry mentioned is that the costs. So why should I pay for something which I'm have no benefit from? So please check all internally what costs you a document, to create a document, to print a document, to forward the document to the driver, to get it back from the driver, to store it, to type the results into the into your TMS system or your ERP system. There are a couple of studies. There's a study from the university in Kaiserslautern. They find out that it is 37 euro per document, per page. We have results from the guys in the Benelux, which shows more than 40 euros per document. So we have seen these huge costs per document, and this is only the working costs, the labor costs. So the additional costs, like printer, like all this stuff is coming on addition. So make sure that you do the correct analyzation on your side, and then try, as Barry mentioned, try to go step by step into the digitalization. And with the digitalization, you can use FT. So this is the correct way to do it. And if you need support, don't hesitate to contact the experts here. We have done all the same way a couple of years ago, and we support our customers from the very first beginning of doing digitalization. For example, just to make a picture from a PDF document and use a template to transfer it into digitalization format and to use it for the TP1, TP2 solution. So we have a couple of things we can provide you, and analyze your costs, and then you have the reason why you should go to digitalization.
Thank you.
Lasse, if there is time, sorry, I'm interrupting, but if there is time at the end, you know that we built an FT ROE calculator. Eh?
We can take that on the next webinar also. We are now running out of time, but before I give floor for Augustin and Nicolas, Marco, prepare yourself. There is 2 more questions about how long the data can be and which party controls who can get access. So can you make answer for those? But first, Augustin, why invest FT?
So, if we want to look at this from a very skeptical business perspective, then we might say, well, FD does not give me any direct benefits, except that I won't need to be stopped for any transfer controls, like for any row controls. I can just keep going, like my driver can keep going, and they won't ever be stopped if I did my job right. But how often is that the case? They might be very critical about that. But eFTI is, like we said at the very beginning, an enabler. eFTI will first of all encourage, later enforce, digitalization, and this then drags all the great benefits with them. For example, if you switch to digital documents, you get your money faster, because once the documents are delivered, everybody knows that they're delivered, and then you can start the invoicing process. And even before they're being delivered, you know, where is my stuff, and do I need to prepare, like, do I need my prepare the ramps, for example, for a truck to come? When will how many trucks come, and so on and so forth. So you get more transparency. Everything goes faster, way faster, like 50%, 60% faster if you compare digital documents versus paper documents. In this case, eCMR. There are studies to this. I can also give the name of the study that everybody seems to be referring to. Also compliance Europe-wide, and less paper, less CO2 for the environment, and you will be, once you join, one of the modern companies that use the modern solutions and that attracts other modern companies and just be at the forefront of this digital innovation.
Thank you, Augustin. Now we need to run for Nicolas very shortly from your side, and then Marco has very short answer for those last 2 questions.
Okay. First of all, I'll say that I agree totally with Barry. Barry said exactly what is the meaning of the FTI is in any, and actually in any digitalization of the transport environment is not money, is not investment, is not effort, is mentality, is culture. So it's very important to proceed with the culture changing to the new generations. I know there is a shortage of drivers, as there is a shortage of programmers all over Europe. So I don't give a damn what everybody is talking about. Cost is not about cost. The only cost, Lasse, is what you ask. How long are we going to store the information in our systems, in our cloud systems, in our rented cloud systems? So the actually cost is not how much it will be the operation, it's how long we will store and what is the size of the storing data. This is the only questions and nothing else.
Thank you, Nicolas. And now, Marco, 30 seconds answer for those last two questions.
Okay, how long? This is written in the regulation.
Thanks.
eFTI can be accessed by the competent authority only during the transport, meaning from the signature of the carrier to the signature in a way of the consignor. But after the transport operation finished, the eFTI dataset must be kept, must be archived for at minimum 2 years. This is what the regulation says. It could be more depending on national legislation, but I don't know any case. So I would say that they can be stored for all the data must be stored for 2 years. But this is a sort of an offline archive. So in my interpretation of the regulation, it could even be a tape, a DVD, or whatever. I mean, data must be accessible by authorities only in case of court cases. And this means that it is not something that must be kept live. So they must be kept live for the duration of the transport. They must be archived in any way and retrievable in any way for 2 years.
Thanks. Tenkar, one very short comment.
Yeah, just one comment in addition to Marco. In case of cabotage, yes, that's a keyword. In case of cabotage, you have to fulfill the regulations. So eFTI has also to provide the data in case of cabotage transports as long as the transport as the regulations are asking for.
Thank you. If you go one slide
that's
back,
a special case. Sorry, only for road. Indeed, they must be kept online for 2 weeks after the transport operation completes.
One slide back. Yes, as you heard already, Barry has something more also to offer. So we will organize also a next webinar in June, and then we go deeper and deeper also on this business value and how to build this digital ecosystem. So this was start for this. And yes, I have seen already that Barry's calculator, and it is kind of no-brainer why not to invest on the digital tools. So please join also us on 18th of June, and then we will go deeper on the business side. Thank you for participating. I think we had more than 120 or something was people here, so quite well. So thank you. We will give the materials for you afterwards, and we might also make some summary about those questions that you had there. Thank you.
141, the top one.
Very good.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.